All right, we're live. Welcome, everyone. Happy Thursday. Happy Lightroom Thursday. It's that time of the month again, and I'm pleased to be here streaming live for you and sharing some Lightroom love and Lightroom tips. So welcome, everyone. Just let me get a couple things sorted here so we can go ahead and get started. And this should be fun. Victoria's in the house. Hey, Victoria, what's going on? I also saw Andrew, James. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Is that Doi? Welcome. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Nor, hello, all the way in Germany. Good night or good evening. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic. So we've got Lightroom Classic. We've had it for years. We've had the ability to, of course, to adjust multiple photos as you want. You know, you can select one photo, make an adjustment, copy, paste to the other photos, or you can turn on auto sync and adjust all the photos at the same time if they're selected. But what about the ones that you just kind of want to fix or adjust upon import? That's what today's topic is all about. So taking Lightroom Classic the way you always use it, importing your photos, and having them automatically do things that you would normally have to do after the fact or normally have to do once you get them in. So Isabella and Colleen, welcome as well. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to switch over to my desktop so you guys can see what I'm doing here. I've got Lightroom Classic CC open. I've also it's just on a random collection or folder. I've got a memory card right here. This is the memory card I'm going to stick in the computer and bring up the import dialog box if all goes well. Let me go ahead and just pop that in. And we'll give it a second or two to recognize the card. And here it comes. Here comes the import dialog box. Okay, so once that pops up, of course, it does what it always does. This is a left to right workflow. So on the left-hand side, it's selected the card. It's telling me the name of the card at the top is Nikon D810. It's telling me in the middle what it's going to copy and how it's going to copy it. So I'm choosing to copy these raw files as DNG. By default, it's going to select all of them and import them all, which is not what I want to do just yet. And then on the right, what it does or how it handles them upon import. So I was testing this earlier. Just let me switch this back to the default, which is none. And let's go ahead and uncheck all because I want to do a test. So I want to uncheck all and I'm going to select one image of the kids working at their stations here. So I'll select that one image and I'll just import that one. So now on the right-hand side, the only thing I'm telling it to do is build a smart preview when it's done. I'm also copying as DNG again, as I mentioned, to convert that. It'll do that when it's done. I have nothing else selected other than to tell it where to go. So I'm going to switch this to a new folder, a new collection. New folder. We're going to call it Creative Jam Miami 2018. And that's where it will go. Okay, so now we'll just import that one photo and it'll switch to it and import the one and there it is. And that's it. It converted it to DNG. It built a smart preview. Success. But now let's talk about the adjustment part. What I want to do is the things that I would normally do to this photo, I just want those things to automatically happen when I import the rest of those photos. So let me switch over to the develop module. And now that I'm in the develop module, I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to, first of all, adjust the white balance. This image looks a little too warm for my taste. So I'm just going to go ahead. It's got a nice gray laptop here. I'm just going to go ahead and click on that and adjust that as my white balance starting point. Now, the next thing is sometimes proper white balance isn't necessarily the best white balance for people. Like this is now making the skin tones a little too cool for my taste. So I'm just going to warm it back up just a hair, not that much, maybe something in that neighborhood with the temperature slider. All right, so now what would I do next? You notice that, and even before I would make that adjustment, I should point out that profiles are, of course, new in Lightroom Classic CC and Lightroom CC. And the default profile now for raw files is Adobe Color. So I'm going to go ahead and switch it to, I could switch to portrait or I could switch to vivid. I'm going to go ahead and do portrait and just again makes a slight adjustment for people. All right, so again, make sure I got my white balance set. Then I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to go to lens corrections and I'm going to enable the profile correction for my camera. So when I do that, it takes kind of the bending out of the photo. It takes some of the vignetting around the edges of the photo that might have been caused upon import, by that particular lens that was used, that particular lens in combination. And if there's anything else I would want to do, I do it now. So for example, I might want to adjust the contrast up a bit. I might want to adjust the vibrance up a hair, just a taste. And I might want to also increase the exposure ever so slightly. So I'm just going to hit the up arrow a couple times on exposure. That's about it. And now I've got all of these adjustments made. This is kind of how I want my starting point for all the rest of the photos to be. So to make that happen, I'm going to go on the left-hand side. I'm going to click the plus sign for presets. And I'm going to just create a new preset based on everything I just did. And of course, you can uncheck things that you don't want to be adjusted. So for example, maybe I don't want to do any graduated filters or radial filters. I didn't do any, but I don't have to worry about it. But just in case, I don't want it to ever do anything. I could also say, nope, for people, I don't want to use any dehaze right off the bat, even though I didn't. I don't have to worry about it. But just in case, you can uncheck the things that you definitely don't want it to do. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is give it a name. I'm going to say portraits begin here. All right, that's what I'm going to call it. Portraits begin here. You can save it in whatever group you want. I'm going to save it in my user presets, and then I'll just go ahead and create it. Now, again, nothing's going to happen to this photo. This photo is already done. But now in my user presets, if I were to go take a look at them, there should be one called, let's see if I can find it real quick. Portraits begin here. There it is. All right, so that one is what we're going to use going forward. Now, I'm going to get back out of Develop, and now I'm set up to import the rest of my photos. All right, so next thing I want to do is, let's go to my, actually, it ejected the card, so let me take it out and push it back in again. That should bring up the import again. And it did. And now, again, I can pick and choose or say import all, but I'm going to pick and choose. I don't want to import them all. I don't need them all. So let me uncheck, and I'm going to say I want that one. I want, let's see, I want all the ones working at workstations. We already got that one. I want this one. I'm holding down my command key to get people in the same situation, same lighting, same setup. This one, this one. Oh, that was outside in the hallway, kind of getting all the ones from this event where people were sitting at their computers that I want. All right, that one, this one, this one, this one, so forth and so on. So you get the idea. Now, just selecting them doesn't do anything. You got to remember, click the check, because otherwise it won't do anything. It won't import anything because they're not really checked to import. All right, so if I import them now, nothing will happen. They'll just come in as the first one did without any adjustments. But because we made that preset, I can now go over to my develop settings right here where it says develop settings. Right now it says none, and I can choose in my user presets, portraits begin here. So now that means for every photo I import until I turn that off, apply all those adjustments automatically. The white balance, the profile, the exposure, vibrance, the lens correction, just do it automatically for all of them. All right, so what I want to do is go ahead and click import. And again, it will switch out of that folder to show me my current import. So it's bringing them all in as fast as my card and card reader and size of these files will allow. And then it's now applying the processes that I mentioned before. So what you'll start to see is you'll start to see those adjustments happening on the individual thumbnails as they come in. So I see two processes going. One's the convert to DNG, the other one's the smart preview. And then after that's done, we should just start to see the thumbnails update. And I'm starting to see them update now. So that one just updated. Let's see if we get any more. And if I were to go look at one of these now, in the develop screen, I can see that all of those adjustments have been made. So if I go to the next one, same adjustments have been made. That one's out of focus, probably wouldn't use that one, so let's go ahead and reject it. But anyway, you get the idea. All of those same adjustments have been made. Now, these are non-destructive. So, for example, on this particular photo, it's still not bright enough for my taste. So on this one, without any other one selected, I can go in and say, you know what? 0.20 wasn't enough exposure. Let's go up a little bit higher on that one. Maybe about there. All right, so all of my photos got adjusted. Same thing here. Maybe this one could stand to be a bit brighter, but it got everything else I needed, including the lens correction and everything else. And now I got a great starting point for all my photos to now only adjust the things that needed to be adjusted. So I can use as many different presets for as many different scenarios as I want. And maybe you don't make any adjustments. Maybe your preset is just simply the lens correction and a profile. So if you shoot landscapes, you can apply the landscape profile to your raw files and the lens correction. That's it. That's all you need. Anything else you're going to adjust manually per photo. So that's one way to do this. And that's if you're going to import from a card. That's great. What if you're going to shoot tethered? So for example, here I've got in my studio, or actually in my live streaming studio, I've got my Nikon D850 on a tripod. You see the orange cable is a USB 3 tethering cable. Off in the distance is the Mach 5 toy car, and the camera's on, and now what I do is I want to get this set up for tethering. So I just wanted to show you what the setup was. The camera's off to the side, orange cable's plugged into this computer, camera's on, and already focused in on the subject. All right, so let's go back. And now let's go in and do File menu. We're going to do Tether Capture, and we're going to say Start Tether Capture, and then it will come up and ask me, what do I want to call it? So I want to call this Mach 5 car. We'll make it different than the one I did earlier. We'll start the numbering with number 1, the name of the files. So it'll be Mach 5 car-0001 when it's done. And whatever folder or collection I want to add them to. So we'll add them to a new collection as well. Create a collection on the fly, which is kind of nice for tethering. We're going to call this Mach 5. And we're going to call it, or put it into my demo collection set. And I can even sync it with Lightroom CC so that the images would also be available on all my other devices as well. So Philip asked the question, what if you missed a photo? Just go back and import it. Just you repeat the step. If you missed a photo, either re-import it, or if you missed a photo editing, just go back and edit it. So now that preset has been made, you can use it tomorrow. You can use it on the next set of photos. You use it anytime you want. All right, so if I wanted to sync this with Lightroom CC, I could, but let's go ahead and go ahead and create. That collection's all set. My tethering bar comes up. It's all set. It's recognized the camera. It's ready to go. So now instead of me reaching all the way over where my arm's not long enough to take the picture, keep in mind that there's a shutter button right here on the tethering bar. Normally I hide the tethering bar because I am usually, pressing the shutter button with my finger. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and, I heard it. It'll take a couple seconds, and here comes the Mach 5 car. So same thing. Let me move this down a bit out of the way for a second. Let's go into develop, and now let's make some adjustments. So first things first, instead of Adobe Color, I would love this to be Adobe Vivid. Next thing is I want to adjust the exposure up a bit. All right, next thing, since this is not a person, I'm going to add some more clarity to it. I'm going to add a little vibrance to it. Oh, let's also correct for lens correction. Let's do that too at the same time. Boom. That also took care of a couple other issues. And probably increase the contrast a bit more. That's about it. But I noticed something else. If I zoom in, I need to go clean the car. There's some marks on it. There's some spots on it. Now, I would advise you to go clean the object. In other words, instead of me having to fix this on every single photo, it'd be a lot easier to stop what I'm doing, walk over and wipe it off, clean it off. That way, I don't have to do it in post. But just as an example, I want to go in and show you that this also works even if you're using tools that are selective, like the spot removal tool. Now, of course, that assumes that you're going to be taking the exact same shot with the exact same things in it that you want to have adjusted or taken out. So that is what I'm doing, because this is a stationary object. But if it were something that was going to be moving or turning, that wouldn't really work out too well, because as soon as it turns, everything's on a different angle and those spots wouldn't be in the same spot. So again, that's why I recommend that you go clean the object rather than trying to adjust it here. All right, but if it's just one picture, then yeah, by all means, fix it here. All right, so now we got that all set. And of course, I could go save a preset like I did before. But let's say you're just going to do this once and you don't want to save the preset because you're just going to use it one time. Meg's asking, what cord do you use from the computer to the camera? A USB cable that is compatible with your camera. So for example, this camera this camera has a USB 3 port on it. So I have a Tether Tools USB 3 to regular USB to my computer. That's about 15 feet. So just go to tethertools.com. I believe that's their site, and you'll find the tethering cable for your particular camera. All right, so now, instead of me using a preset, tethering has something that's pretty cool. I'm going to switch to not none, not to a preset, but same as previous, meaning I don't have to save a preset. This is temporary. I'm only going to be shooting this car once, but it's just, I'm going to be shooting it once. So just do the same thing I just did to the last photo to the next photo. So this is great when you're shooting tethering, even with a model or a human subject and the person's moving around, maybe different people are coming in and out, make some adjustments, keep shooting. Next person, make some adjustments, keep shooting, because it will always do same as previous photo. So if I take another photo now, we'll see that it's going to be the exact same car because nothing's changed, but watch the adjustment. We'll give it a second or two and it will adjust automatically because it's just doing the same thing that I did to the last one. So let's take one more shot. Again, it's going to bring in a darker photo, and then in a couple seconds, it's going to lighten it up because it's going to do the exact same thing that I did last time. And there it is. Now, let's say I make an adjustment to this one. Let's say that I go in and make one more adjustment. Let's bring the saturation all the way down and basically convert it to a black and white. All right, so now that we've done that, now let's say I take another photo, but I say same as previous. The first one's going to come in color, and then a few seconds later, it's going to be brighter and black and white. So it's always going to do whatever you just did last. So if I don't want the next ones to be black and white, then I would just go in, back to the develop module, switch this back to 0, or just double click, and that will switch it back to 0. And now the next photo won't be black and white because it's doing same as previous, whatever the previous adjustment or adjusted photo is. So we'll give it a second. Boom, it's in color and it is brighter. All right. Yeah, I love tethering. I shoot tethered all the time in the studio. And a lot of people don't realize that same as previous button is or selection is there. That way I don't have to go create a preset for everything I do. I just adjust it once, keep shooting, make adjustments, keep shooting, and everything that comes in afterwards will be adjusted properly. All right, so we are just at the time limit of 20 minutes. I like to keep these down to 15 to 20 minutes, and this is the limit of 20 minutes, and we did it. We got it all done. So with that said, everyone, thanks for watching my monthly Lightroom stream, which is every third Thursday here on the Lightroom Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Lightroom for those of you watching the replay or watching it somewhere else. And thanks for my fans on Twitter for watching as well. And that is about it. How do you open the window to Tether? You go up to your File menu and you choose, it is called, under File, Tether Capture. Start Tether Capture. And that will open up the window to do your settings. Hey, Wes is in the house. What's up? Hey, Wes, I just mentioned your company, Tether Tools. So people were asking about tethering cables. So that guy right there, Weston Maggio, works with Tether Tools. He can help you out with the right cable for your tethering needs. All right, so with that said, everyone, cheers. Take care. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody.